Peekaboo. I don't know, I'm crazy. I'm just a crackhead. It's beginning to look a lot like Frick this. Don't inspect candy cane and Phantom Forces. It sucks. Whoa. Oh my god. I like how I see a video sometimes of this guy where is this guy holding a double 1911. Okay, I'm trying to find the video. Let's go to Cukester. Britain's controversial TV show. TV license. Okay, there's a glitch for my videos that just will not play. There it goes.
The TV license is sort of a running joke for Americans who engage in online argument with their cousins in the British Isles, and is often used as an example of the differences in social attitudes and personal freedoms between the two regions. An American citizen has the privilege, nay, the right to possess a firearm, but the British citizen needs a license to own a TV. The jokes write themselves, and the Americans laugh in semi-automatic gunfire. But all jokes aside,
semi-automatic gunfire.
Why do British people need a license to own a TV? Can they get in trouble for owning a TV without a license? How does the government know if they do? Why do Brits tolerate any of this? These questions all have very interesting, and if you're American, hilarious answers. So let's dive in. Scottish inventor John Logie Baird is often credited with creating the world's first mechanical television. He demonstrated it to scientists of the Royal Institute in 1926, which is widely regarded as the world's first public television demonstration. It was a piece of shit. The electronic television was invented shortly after, but well, just look at it. It wasn't until after World War II that the technology became mainstream.
I think I heard a fact once where before World War II, there were like 10,000 television sets in the United States, and in only like 3 years after that, there were like 3 million. So yeah, TVs definitely did gain a massive rise after the Second World War.
You may be surprised to hear that the idea of the TV license predates even Baird's primitive invention. The Wireless Telegraphy Act of 1904 regulated the transmission of messages using radio waves, which was instrumental in maritime communication and becoming increasingly important in military operations. At this time, the General Post Office was seen as the administrative and regulatory office for this stuff because, just like the Post, it required delivery from a sender to a receiver. Under the Wireless Telegraphy Act, the General Post Office implemented a receiving license for radio transmissions. If you wanted to receive radio transmissions, you had to pay for an annual license. Seeing as this technology was still somewhat experimental, it didn't see a lot of use by the public, and in 1906, 2 years after the license was introduced, only 68 receiving licenses were issued. By 1914, this had risen to several thousand. This was unfortunate for those people because that year the General Post Office announced the licenses were being suspended due to the First World War. The General Post Office informed the license holders that they were required to dismantle their receiving equipment. By the 1920s, radio technology was seeing rapid growth. This was the point where the General Post Office realized they probably weren't going to be the masters of long-range communication forever, and so they pushed for the establishment of the British Broadcasting Company, D. Initially, the BBC consisted of radio manufacturers who would produce radio programs for users of their products, the broadcasts being funded by the sale of their radio receiving sets. However, in 1923, a license was reintroduced to fund the broadcasts, which cost 10 shillings a year. Thusly, the license had shifted from being a regulatory measure to a vehicle for funding. In 1927, the BBC went from a private company to a public service corporation. Control it, but it is subject to government regulation as a public service. So the BBC was creating broadcast programming for the general public, and the General Post Office was funding it with the license fees. When television started taking off, they did broadcasts on that too, starting in 1936, although this was stopped during World War II to focus on radio. After World War II, TV saw huge growth worldwide, and even though the BBC only had one black and white channel, they decided people should pay a license fee for that too. The first TV license was introduced in 1946 and cost £2 a year. Thankfully, this covered radio too, so you only had to pay the TV license to legally receive both. With this, the BBC was able to expand their programming. Eventually, colour TV came around, and in 1968, the colour TV license was introduced, meaning you had to pay more for the colours. Believe it or not, the license still works like this. You can get a monochrome TV license for about £50 and a colour one for about £100.
That's so stupid.
Apparently, there are over 4,000 people in the UK still paying exclusively for the monochrome license. In 1971, radio was finally license-free, meaning only your TV required a license. In 1991, the responsibility of administering the TV license was passed from the General Post Office to the BBC, meaning the BBC is totally responsible for issuing licenses and enforcing license fee payment. And this is where we are today. Through the license fees and government funding, the BBC has expanded greatly with multiple radio stations and TV channels across the world. If you're in the United Kingdom, these channels are free, but you have to pay for a TV license if you watch or record television transmissions at the same time they are being broadcast. Even if you're not watching anything from the BBC, it's the law. Even if you don't have a TV and you watch via internet streaming, you need a TV license. So what if you don't have a TV license? That is the
dumbest thing I've ever heard all day.
It's not required to buy a TV, so it's fairly easy to just break the law and watch without a license. But the BBC takes this fairly seriously. They have a database of every household in possession of a TV license, meaning they know if you don't have one. If you're suspected of watching TV without a license, they may first initiate contact via unsolicited telephone calls or letters, which you have no means of opting out of, since they are not considered advertising or marketing material. A TV licensing agent, sometimes known as a TV license inspector, might make an unannounced visit to your house. This has happened to me because Ireland similarly requires a TV license to fund our public broadcaster, RTE. After a brief confrontation, he was forced to apologise because his system was out of date, and he went on his merry way to annoy someone else. A TV licensing agent may ask for permission to enter your home and inspect any TV receiving equipment. Although you are under no obligation to grant this permission, they may apply to a magistrate for a search warrant. They do try to avoid going down this route by making use of detection equipment. Yes, they do use devices to detect TVs. They even have TV detector vans that they drive around in, making note of households they detected a TV in, but do not appear on their license database. These vans are shrouded in secrecy, as the BBC never reveal to the public how many of these vans they own or how they operate in an effort to prevent evasion. This has led to widespread speculation over if they even really exist, with some believing they're merely a myth or a hoax to scare people away from evading the license fee. And while they are real, their effectiveness is debated, and the BBC has probably exaggerated their capabilities.
Yes, there's a TV set on number 5. It's in the front room. And they're watching Columbo.
If you don't have a TV license, it won't take us long to find you.
TV license evasion is a prosecutable offence with a maximum fine of £1,000. It's not technically punishable by imprisonment, but convicted offenders could be imprisoned on non-payment of the fine. although this
That
is
is
rare.
so
Why do the
ridiculous.
Brits allow the existence of the TV license? Well, a majority aren't actually happy with the system for numerous reasons. The BBC no longer gets all their funds from the public. They sell advertisements and license their content. They've even copyright claimed one of my videos for using a few seconds of footage from one of their shows, the bastards. So why are they still making the public pay for them? Well, in 2017, the BBC had a total income of just over £5 billion. 3.83 billion of this, or 75%, came from TV license fees. So they're not overly eager to get rid of it, considering it's their primary source of funding. People are also turned off by how Orwellian enforcement of the TV license fee seems. The TV license inspectors, the detector vans, the adverts. Yes, the BBC produces adverts designed to scare you into paying your license fee. The production of these adverts obviously being funded by the license fees. The tone of these ads often leaves a bad taste in people's mouths.
Your town, your street, your home. It's all in our database. New technology means it's easy to pay your TV license and impossible to hide if you don't. It's all in the database.
That is creepy.
Another bone of
That is some straight up 1984 stuff, if I've ever seen it.
Skeleton of contention, one might say, is the many scandals the BBC has been involved in.
Dude, you could literally pose as a person from one of these corporations. You could get free entry to someone's house and rob them. You could easily cheese
After
this.
his death in 2011, it was revealed that Savile was one of, if not the most prolific sex offender in Britain's history. These horrific crimes, many of which were alleged to have occurred during his decades-long career at the BBC, led to accusations that the corporation was either complicit or grossly negligent, which allowed their presenter to never have to face justice. After his death, hundreds of allegations came to light, leading many to seriously distrust the BBC and wonder who their license fees were going to. There are many other reasons people aren't happy with the license fee, but I'll leave you with one more bizarrely interesting one. Enforcement of the license fee has come under fire for gender discrimination. In 2017, 72% of prosecutions for TV license evasion were against women. TV license evasion is the most common offence for which women are prosecuted in the UK.
Seriously?
Women are 10 times more likely to be convicted of this than men. This extreme disparity has led to many questioning if this is due to social factors or discriminatory enforcement practices. There are many other countries that issue TV licenses, but there are even more that previously issued them and have since abolished the practice. Will the UK ever join?
That is
this
such a
list?
stupid measure.
This
That's
is an
straight from
ongoing
1984.
Many of the citizens would hope so, but
stuff.
there are still many who view the BBC as an overall positive force and don't mind paying the license fee to ensure it can continue to produce programming at the scale and quality the broadcaster is renowned for, while remaining independent from commercial pressures. And that's all the time I'm willing to dedicate to talking about TV licensing in the UK, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you're American, maybe this has provided you with more ammunition to make fun of the TV license, which is good because Americans can never have enough ammunition. If you did enjoy the video, I have literally hundreds more, and if you'd like to see more in the future, then subscribe.
The world's
because I really
unluckiest lottery ticket. Tales from the Bottle.
The biggest movie of the year is on Max. The holidays belong to Barbie.
What the hell was that? Oh. Oh. My Indian headset fell. Yeah. Can we please stop advertising me vaping? I'm literally like a prolific opponent of vaping.
So you want to win the lottery. Take the US Mega Millions, for example. You choose 5 numbers between 1 and 70.
Okay, you ready for this? I'm going to make you very mad about what I'm about to say. And it's actually sad, but it's true. When you win the lottery, you will lose 40% of it to taxes. Yep. So if you win $100,000, you will get $60,000. Yep. Let me see if I'm correct on it. Oh, I'm wrong. Please, 4% of it goes to taxes, which is just evil, dude. Like, come on, we won the money. You might as well just give me the money. I don't want to be spoiled. I mean, like, for example, Aw, thanks, Illinois, for taking 4.95% of my lottery. Compared to, like, something like, let's see. What state takes the most money in taxes? Alexa, what state taxes the most on lotteries?
New York and Maryland are the states that tax lottery winnings the highest at 8.82% and 8.75% respectively.
Dude, it is New York. Do you really expect that to be a
And then
false?
another number between 1 and 25. Mathematically, and this is the point you should probably turn the video off if you're a gambler, this means there are 302,575,350 possible number combinations for the Mega Millions lottery. Obviously, only one of the combinations will prove to be the winning numbers, so you have a 1 in 302,575,350 chance of winning. That's about a 0.00000033% chance of winning. So, if you had the winning numbers, you could say that's a pretty lucky ticket, if you were prone to vastly understating the nature of things. So what about all the losing lottery tickets? Would you say they were unlucky? Well, considering a ticket has about a 99.999999967% chance of losing, probably not. Obviously, there are lotteries outside the Mega Millions with their own rules and configurations of numbers, but the probability of winning any of them, second warning to gamblers, is extremely low. Losing is the expected outcome. So how bad would a lottery ticket have to be for you to consider it unlucky? The lottery would have to have a losing number as well as a winning number, and in the extremely unlikely case you got the losing number, the officials would show up at your house and kill your family or something. Then you can
Lotto
say that's
gun.
an unlucky ticket, but unfortunately they don't yet do that. So how unlucky could a lottery ticket possibly be? Tonda Dickerson was working as a waitress at a Waffle House in Grand Bay, Alabama, USA in 1999.
Oh yes, starts in Alabama.
She was in her late 20s, divorced, and a single mother, working at the diner to pay the bills. And Waffle House is no joke either. They're open 24 hours, 365 days of the year, with an extensive disaster management plan to ensure they can stay open even during events like hurricanes. Their dedication to staying open is used as an informal metric by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, to determine the severity of a disaster. A former head of FEMA has said if you go to a disaster zone and the Waffle House is closed, that's how you know shit is really fucked up. These guys don't look shop for anything short of an all-out apocalypse. This is to say that Tonda Dickerson was the sort of person
Seriously?
the
Those
lottery
places never
wants to
close?
win. They want to be like, see this loser? She was slaving away at Waffle House to pay her bills and support her snot-nosed brat. Then she bought a lottery ticket, and now she can say, fuck Waffle House, fuck the bills, and fuck that kid, because she's a millionaire. Every company wants to show you how great your life will be if you buy their product, but Tonda Dickerson didn't actually buy a lottery ticket. On March 6, 1999, Tonda Dickerson was serving Edward Seward at Waffle House. Seward was a trucker, a regular at Waffle House, and gave Dickerson a tip in the form of a lottery ticket he had picked up on one of his routes down in Florida.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be greedy. I really rarely take tips. Like, I've been tipped $20 or probably even 40 at most of my entire career. And my career spans the length of I'd say 1.2 years. And no, it's not because I'm not a waiter. I'm not a waiter. I get tipped at bare minimum because I'm a dishwasher. But anyway, come on. Tipping in the form of lottery tickets, that's an awful practice. I mean, thank you for giving me a piece of paper that may or may not be $1 million. I mean, yeah, I'm appreciative that it could be $1 million, but there is a very, very high chance that it won't be $1 million. So you're literally just giving me paper that ain't a lottery ticket with a money value not even worth the paper it's printed on.
Waitresses had an agreement to share any lottery winnings equally like they would any other tip, and in playful conversation with Seward, Dickerson said if they won, they'd each set some money aside to buy him a new truck. The pair laughed as Seward left. Then the day of the lottery came. Some of the other waitresses had tickets for it too. Of course, they all lost. Now, for a video about unlucky lottery tickets, you're probably thinking that in the grand scheme of lottery tickets, this ticket sounds exceptionally not unlucky. But, well, Tonda Dickerson's story does not end here. Dickerson chose to receive the winnings in annual payments of $375,000 for 30 years. Now, with a guarantee that she was set for life, she understandably quit Waffle House. Don't nobody want to be working during no disaster. Her fellow waitresses were happy for her. For a time. After a while, they started to wonder when they were going to get their share, as was the agreement.
That's
when
greedy.
it became clear the answer to that question was never, Dickerson's former colleagues sued her ass. They alleged
That is so dumb.
lottery winnings
That's a
was
joke.
always in place,
That's so greedy.
frequently discussed. They even brought in customers who had overheard them talking about it, thus forming an oral contract. In just 45 minutes, the court ruled against Dickerson, offering to let her keep $3 million worth of the winnings, but to share the rest. Tonda Dickerson rejected this.
I mean, that's $3 million. Even $1 million. If I even received $1 million, hell, even like $100,000, or even $50,000. If I even received $50,000, even for me, that's a hell of a lot of money. I would be giddy as hell if I got that much money. But still, like, that's like saying, oh, here, you get like 1/10 of the pie when you can get at least all of it, you know. Like, come on, like, that's like buying a cake, right? And then you're only allowed to eat like 1/10 of the cake.
That was the decision. In the year 2000, the matter went before the Alabama Supreme Court, who ruled that while there had been an oral contract to share the winnings, this contract was related to gambling, which is illegal in Alabama and thus not enforceable.
Wait, seriously? The state constitution prohibits lotteries. What? How did she get a lottery ticket?
The Dickerson was keeping the winnings. Now, a lot of people regard going back on your word as a thing that's not nice to do. One of these people was Edward Seward, who was annoyed that Dickerson didn't share with her colleagues, and also probably desperately bitter that he handed over $10 million in place of a few dollars tip. That's the sort of thing that keeps you up every night for the rest of your life. Seward also sued Dickerson, alleging she fraudulently misrepresented herself by accepting the ticket on the condition she'd share any earnings with the other staff, and she'd also promised him a truck. Where's the truck, Tonda? Tonda's defense was basically that was just a throwaway comment made in jest. Seward's case was dismissed, and although he appealed it to Alabama's Supreme Court, he still lost. That might have been the end of Dickerson's legal woes, but life offers a wide range of woes for a person to experience. One of these woes was the return of Dickerson's ex-husband, Stacey Martin, who she had divorced in 1997. Martin had learned of Dickerson's big win, and just a few days after Seward's claim against her was rejected, he kidnapped her. Threatening to kill Tonda, Martin brought her to a secluded boat jetty. This is not going in a positive direction. While captive, Tonda's phone began to ring inside her purse. Martin allowed Tonda to answer the call for some reason. Reaching into her purse, Tonda pulled out a handgun and shot Martin. God bless him.
Damn.
Martin managed to wrestle the gun off Tonda and turn it against her. He threatened to shoot her, but now he had a bullet in the right side of his chest. Tonda urged him to abandon the abduction and seek immediate medical attention. Martin could see at this point continuing the kidnapping probably wouldn't have a good outcome for him. He went to hospital. Bizarrely, no charges were pressed against anyone for this incident. By now, Tonda Dickerson...
Hey, he did kidnap, but she did shoot her.
Sued by former friends, although that was kind of her fault. Kidnapped by her ex-husband and threatened with death, and now had a self-defense shooting under her belt. Winning the lottery could turn a lot of people against you, but Tonda Dickerson had defeated them all. What could she go through now that she hadn't already gone through? Who could possibly pose any threat to her that she hadn't already overcome. She'd had a gun pointed at her and still came away the victor. Who
The
could
IRS?
top that? Who could be scarier than an armed and deranged ex-husband? Who could shake the unshakable, defeat the undefeatable, touch the untouchable?
Oh my god, as the ad plays, an IRS buff dude just spawns right behind her. I called it! Man, the IRS.
This is my comeback. Start yours at pretty low.
Oh, I do not like the IRS. If you're American, nobody likes the IRS. For those people that aren't in America, the IRS is the Internal Revenue Service, and they are the tax man. And, well, I think ever since the 1700s, Americas are just...
The IRS.
Oh
You see, shortly
boy.
after winning the lottery, Dickerson formed an S corporation in Florida to hold her winnings. This is often done by people with a lot of money for tax reasons, and was probably advised to Dickerson by an accountant. Having money in a corporation protects it from potential creditors, makes it easier to manage and consolidate, and allows for easier gifting, which is probably what Dickerson was looking for. She held 49% of the corporation's stock, and the other 51% was split between her parents and siblings. This 51% amounted to $2,412,388 at the time Dickerson transferred the shares to her family. The IRS looked at this and said, okay, you gave a gift of about $2 million. You have to pay us $771,570 in federal gift tax. Tonda Dickerson disagreed. Challenging the IRS, brave woman, Dickerson said she shouldn't have to pay the gift tax because it wasn't legally a gift for a number of reasons. One, she claimed she wasn't making a donation, but rather honoring a pre-existing agreement she apparently had with her family that they would split lottery winnings if any of them won. She was simply fulfilling an oral contract, which would be the first time, seeing as this agreement sounds very familiar to one she had before.
Just about to say, like, that sounds a little bit familiar.
The legal owner of the ticket, and that her family, as shareholders, just happened to benefit from this relationship.
Oh.
And three, even if the transfer could be considered a gift, which she argued it couldn't, but if that was the case, then the ticket was not as valuable as the IRS claimed. You might be wondering, how on earth could you possibly suggest that when
How
it's easily verifiable
she's
how
got
much
actual
the lottery
guts
winnings
for
were
going
worth,
against the
passengers who
IRS.
received payment, how much those
You
payments
don't
were
mess
for,
with the
and when
IRS.
she received each payment. You see, when Dickerson transferred the money, she was still being sued by her ex-colleagues. With the lawsuit ongoing and the resolution still yet to be determined, Dickerson argued that the value of the ticket was diminished. Put it this way, if I had a $10 million ticket and offered it to you for $5 million, would you buy the ticket knowing it was at the center of a lawsuit in which the winnings of the ticket could be split amongst the staff of a Waffle House? When Dickerson made the transfer, the ticket existed in a sort of Schrodinger's cat-like state, where it was potentially worth both $10 million and $3 million, depending on the outcome of the lawsuit. Therefore, the value of had accounted for. This legal battle went on for 13 years. In 2012, the tax court finally came to a decision. It was a fucking gift, Tonda. The whole oral contract thing is bullshit because, as you well know, Tonda, such a contract is unenforceable in a state where gambling is illegal, which Alabama is, which is where you agreed to the supposed contract. Tonda. And another thing, that whole corporation owns the ticket, not me, tee-hee-hee, is nonsense. We're the IRS. If money changes hands, we're having some of it. If you don't like that, well, that's too damn bad, Tonda. But of course, Dickerson had that argument over value if the transfer was a gift, which it was now recognized as. The tax court said, you know what, that is actually a good point. The ticket wasn't worth as much at the time as the IRS said it was. So instead of paying the gift tax on $2,412,388, she was ordered to pay the gift tax on $1,119,347, $1.90. God only knows how they worked that out, but she now only had to pay tax
90
on less than
cents.
half the amount she was originally pegged for. So she even got a partial victory over the IRS. She fought everyone and won. Tonda Dickerson is like the honey badger of lottery winners, or the Waffle House of lottery winners. I mean, when the IRS gets involved in the story, that's usually where it all falls apart. The government always gets their money. It's pretty much the only thing they're good at. When you're up against the IRS, your magic 8-ball will tell you outlook not so good every single time. It just gets stuck. That lottery ticket came with some serious trials and tribulations. Sure, it was a big winner, but you had to go through all of that to get the money, and Tonda Dickerson came out the other side like, who's next? To be fair, now that I think of it, the kidnapping was the only part of that wasn't a direct consequence of her actions, so I guess you could say that Tonda was largely the architect for her own bad luck, but the ticket is what sent her down the paths. That would still make it an unlucky ticket, right? Well, what do you think? Knowing what you know now, if you were put in her shoes when she got the ticket, would you want it? Would you handle things differently? If you like this video, I have many others in a similar style. You can watch them at your leisure or subscribe to see a new one every week. I'm also now on TikTok, Facebook.
That is funny. Like, yeah, I do agree with him. You really don't F with the IRS. Because once those guys get involved, they will take all your money. It's basically, you're at their mercy at any time of the day, any time of the week. All your money is at mercy. I think I don't really have to explain this, but in America, the IRS is notoriously annoying. They have 500,000 people working at the IRS, but you have to do the math to find out how much in taxes you owe. And guess what? If you pay too little, guess what's gonna happen? They come to your house and say, "Yup, you're screwed." And then, if that wasn't enough, they take a lot of money from you. You want to buy groceries? Taxed. Do you want to buy a gun? Taxed. Do you want to Do you want to donate something to charity? Taxed. Do you want to get lotteries? Taxed. Everything is taxed by them. They do not like when something isn't taxed to them, which is why they do not like cash and they want to ban cash. Okay, continuing on. Soldier salutes as he falls to death. Oh no, it's Hero of the Wars again. What the hell is this video? I hate Hero Wars.
At a Colombian air show, two soldiers fly their country's flag suspended by a cable attached to a helicopter. Then, the cable snaps.
How did that happen?
In August 2019, Medellin, Colombia was celebrating its annual Festival of the Flowers, a 10-day celebration that sees the city adorned and paraded with flowers, bringing an estimated 2 million people to the city to partake in the festivities. The 2019 festival was wrapped up with a closing parade featuring demonstrations by the Colombian Air Force. As part of this demonstration, helicopters flew by with cables towed underneath. A flag was flown from each cable, with an airman supporting it at both corners. One of these pairs were Jesus Mosquera Lopez and Sebastian Gamboa Ricarte, two technicians of the Special Air Commands of the Combat Air Command No. 5, based in the nearby city of Rio Negro. As the helicopters make their approach to Olaya Herrera Airport to land, tragedy strikes. The cable carrying Mosquera and Gamboa suddenly snaps, sending both men plummeting to the ground. Onlookers filming the spectacle below inadvertently capture the two as they fall to their death.
That is tragic.
A photo taken at the incident shows the men in dutiful salute as they fall with their nation's flag. Landing in an unoccupied field near the airport, the airmen are beyond saving.
Man, that is a patriot right there. He knows that in his last seconds of life, in his last moments, that what was he doing in his last moments when he's hanging onto his country flag? A patriot for his country.
Closed in the immediate
Mad
aftermath.
respect to that
Colombia's
lad.
defense ministry announced the suspension of air shows featuring military personnel as they investigated the cause of the accident. It seemed there was no fault in the attachment of the cable to the
How the hell did the cable
Rather,
break?
cable
Those are pretty
itself
strong.
Snapped. Senior officials explained the cable was 95% nylon and 5% cotton, designed
Yup,
for a maximum
there it is.
resistance of 4,500.
They used a nylon cable. Dude, if you're gonna hold people up with that, you should probably try using steel, where that won't break.
Kilograms. At maximum capacity, such a cable should be able to safely support 10 soldiers and their equipment, calling into question why this one snapped under the weight of only 2 men. Years later, and still no findings from the investigation have been made public. This led the angered father of Jesus Mosquera to speculate the involvement of corruption. Corruption in the purchase of equipment, the use of second-hand resources, and in the certification of equipment. This could explain that the cable used was not up to standard, but Mosquera's father went so far as to suggest this was no accident. He claimed that his son had worked for the airbase for nearly 20 years and was well aware of rampant corruption. With his son planning retirement, he suggested that perhaps officials at the airbase knew of Mosquera's disillusionment and had the cable cut or weakened before the airshow in an attempt to silence Mosquera that proved successful. The father said his son's death was murder, not an accident. The Colombian Air Force refuted these allegations, with the commander responding with the following in a letter. Although we recognize the commitment that the media have to communicate, freedom of the press being one of the benefits of democracy, it is also, in a state of law like the Colombian one, the observance of principles such as due process, good name, honor, and others that protect citizens who are presumed innocent until the contrary is proven. We ask the Attorney General's office to advance the legal actions that may be taken against Mr. Jesus Mosquera for his openly public and unfounded statement, pointing out that the members of our institution are murderers, overriding their constitutional rights. Consequently, I urge Mr. Jesus Mosquera to report to the competent authorities the cases of corruption that he announced, because until now, I am not aware of the irregularities to which he refers. Until the Air Force makes public its findings on the cause of the incident, we can't know for sure why it happened.
Fishy.
This has left the families of the victims confused, saddened, and frustrated, feelings they've had to deal with for years. The airmen themselves had only seconds to process these emotions as they fell to their doom. In their last moments, they faced it all with one final
That
salute.
sucks. That guy has a lot of... I would say that's a brave way to go out, saluting your flag as you're about to fall to your doom. Strange man appears on history's most shocking footage.
In a
Alright.
daring stunt at a Colombian air show, 2 soldiers fly.
I think I missed a few more videos. Let's see if I have any more to... Hilarious police sting captures 100 criminals, tails in the bottle. Oh man.
Gift yourself what you
I love
want
police
during
stings, they're so funny. Wait, what?
Operation Flagship was an undercover sting organized by the United States Marshal Service that lured wanted fugitives with a fake giveaway. The authorities went to great lengths to make the event as humiliating as possible for the criminals, even going so far as compromising the sting's secrecy by leaving hints and hidden jokes in the promotion of the giveaway. Despite this, the operation was one of the most successful stings in law enforcement history, and probably the funniest.
Oh man, I gotta hear about
In the
this.
1980s, the U.S. Marshal Service conducted a series of operations known as the Fugitive Investigative Strike Team, or FIST, in an effort to capture wanted fugitives and presumably fist them. Catching these guys normally presents some issues. For one, they're on the run, so tracking them down can prove difficult. Also, some of them may be considered armed and dangerous. If they're expecting the law to come down on them at any minute, they may be well prepared, and a confrontation with them could pose a risk to arresting officers and civilian bystanders. To avoid these problems, FIST employed a clever tactic that still proves
Lure them
popular
in.
across the populace to this day. Scamming. In a New York operation, fugitives were sent notices from a fake delivery company telling them to pick up valuable packages left in their name. They were arrested on arrival.
Oh
Others
my
were hit with the
God.
tried and true, you have won the lottery, come and pick up your winnings. They were arrested on arrival. In Hartford, Connecticut, fugitives
That's
were
mean,
free
but it's
tickets
funny.
to a Boy George concert. They were Karma Chameleons on arrival. These operations led to the arrests of thousands of
it's a
street
custom
fugitives.
country.
The so-called get something for nothing schemes were great because criminals love some things for no things, and they'd lead themselves into capture instead of having to be hunted down. It also meant their guard was down, and they usually came unarmed, meaning no one had to get hurt. The success of the FIST operations inspired the U.S. Marshal Service to conduct a similar operation in a joint effort with the Metropolitan Police Department in Washington, D.C. in 1985. While pondering what devious plots they could deploy over dinner, two Washington marshals noticed the restaurant erupting into cheers over a televised football game featuring the Washington Redskins. At this point in time, support for the Redskins was rabid. The waiting list for season tickets stretched literal years. It should be noted that the Washington Redskins are now known as the Washington Commanders, because I guess at some point someone took umbrage with the fact that American sports teams are either animal, mythical figure, or minority ethnic group. Having decided that tickets for a Redskins game, specifically the highly anticipated December 15th game against the Cincinnati Bengals for the playoffs, would be a very tempting piece of bait, the Marshals and Metropolitan Police went about mailing invitations to the last known addresses of around 3,000 wanted fugitives.
Oh my
The invitations
gosh.
claimed to be from the fictitious company Flagship International Sports Television and promised free tickets.
Oh my God! I just noticed that. Flagship F, International I, Sports S, Television T, Fist. Oh my God. You cannot be kidding me.
Game as part of the promotion. Notice anything funny about the invitation? That acronym seems awfully familiar. This was just one of the hidden references authorities snuck in, seemingly for no other purpose than to amuse themselves. Over 100 people responded to the invites and were further mocked by little jokes hidden in follow-up communications. For instance, the supposed president of Flagship International signed his letters as I. Michael Detnaw, Detnaw being wanted spelled backwards. On the phone, the fugitives would be redirected to the company's business manager. While they waited, I fought the law played over the phone line. The business manager
fought the
himself
law.
was named Marcus Cran, a reversal of the word narc. The fugitives
Oh, these
were
guys are
released to
mean.
since, as was the lawyer representing the local broadcaster.
But again, these guys are wanted criminals who are really dangerous.
Cease and desist order to Flagship International because the company didn't have a license to operate in the district. This was the end of the plan, and everything fell apart. No, I'm just kidding. The police don't let a thing like the law get in the way of enforcing the law. And so, on the 15th of December, they arrived at the Washington Convention Center early in the morning to set up a reception party for the ticket winners. The center was decorated with banners and balloons, and undercover police posed as janitors, hosts, stewards, valets, and even mascots. It might look silly, but they were all secretly armed beneath the costumes, meaning someone was liable to get shot by the San Diego Chicken. The invitation specified that the event would begin at 9 a.m., but some people were so excited they arrived an hour earlier. Let me tell you, these were some happy campers. These people were overjoyed about this whole thing, not fully understanding what this whole
Oh
thing
man,
was.
they're
Here's a
walking
big
right
biker
into
fella
a
trying to
prison
get one of the
cell.
cheerleaders
They don't
in
even
his
know it.
Loves a trier. Of course, these cheerleaders were undercover cops and were tasked with discreetly frisking the attendees for weapons under the guise of physical affection. Recognizing the danger and trying to
man.
arrest a crowd of over 100 fugitives in one fell swoop, the authorities decided to call groups of 10 to 20 of of them at a time into a separate room to listen to a few remarks from the host before being awarded their tickets. Of course, there were no tickets, and when the host uttered the signal word "surprise," 25 members of the Special Operations Group stormed the auditorium, surrounded the fugitives, and hauled them off the buses inside before the next group was called in. This fella doesn't.
Man, they're farming them at that point.
A total of 101 fugitives were arrested in the operation, which cost $22,000 to organize. Now, if you're an easily agitated taxpayer like me, you probably think that sounds like a lot of
$22,000 to pay for that? That is cheap! Dude, versus millions of dollars on tanks and officers and helicopters and guns to go capture them. Damn, that is very cheap. Dude, if I heard that cost money and I had like $100,000, I'd be like, here, take it. As long as I get a nice CD of this clown show, hey, you get my money. I would woefully give them my money if they said to me, we're gonna do what they're doing right there. That is very cheap.
But it worked out at less than $220 per arrest. At the time, in 1985, the U.S. Marshal Service typically spent an average of $1,295 per arrest. So really, this was a fairly cost-efficient method of arresting people, and no one even got hurt, which is usually what cost-efficient means. Operation Flagship has gone down as one of the most legendary and effective in law enforcement history. It was reported that the arrested individuals had between them 15 warrants for assault, 5 for robbery, 6 for burglary, 4 for escape, 19 for bond default or bail violation, 18 for narcotics violations, 59 for probation or parole violation, and 41 for a variety of charges from rape to arson to forgery. None were present for the Redskins' 27-24 victory over the Bengals. Well, if you enjoyed this video, I have many others for you to also enjoy. Like
That's
robbery,
good.
Where a man posing as a police officer convinced bank employees to hand over 300 million yen. If you'd like to see more of this stuff in the future, hit the subscribe button, because I release a new video.
That is one of the funniest stories I think you've ever heard. I mean, I did. Oh goodness gracious! They fell for it too. Oh man, what other videos? I want to see this video. I mean, I watched one. I watched his videos. Muhammad the Mathematical Horse. I want to watch this. I have horses. I have like 3 horses and a mini horse.
Free cancellation.
So this should be a very entertaining video for me.
Booking.com. Booking.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to do that.
Warning to parents.
Oh yes, it's the South Park thing. I gotta watch that one day. Cute, sir.
Horse walks into a bar. The barman says, "Why the long face?" The horse says, "I am Muhammad, a famous show horse renowned for my ability in computation. I can spell, do arithmetic, and perform complex calculations by tapping my hooves. Give me a mathematical problem to solve, and if I get the answer right, you give me a free drink." The barman says, "Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, a talking horse." Muhammad was a horse born in Germany in the late 19th century, and while he couldn't actually talk and probably didn't frequent establishments where alcohol is served, likely due to his being a horse, he could perform complicated mathematical calculations as well as read and spell, likely in spite of his being a horse. He is regarded by many as the most intelligent horse to ever live. I mean, I know some humans that can't spell or do maths. Raised in the town of Elberfeld by Karl Kroll, Muhammad was one of numerous horses Kroll seemingly taught to perform incredible feats of intelligence. Although Muhammad was thought to be the smartest, Kroll demonstrated this to onlookers by asking the horse questions like, "What's the sum of 2 numbers?" Muhammad would answer by tapping his front feet, his left foot representing 10s and the right foot representing 1s. So if the answer to a question was 21, Muhammad would tap his left foot twice and his right foot once. Using this
That's
method of
adorable.
communication, Muhammad was able to solve all sorts of arithmetic problems: addition, subtraction,
What about, like,
multiplication,
complicated
division.
arithmetic?
He could also read and spell by tapping his hooves, but perhaps his most incredible feat was his ability to solve square roots. Kral also
What?
claims that Muhammad tapped his hooves not just for performance, but to communicate spontaneously. He would supposedly tattle on the other horses for being lazy, or on the grooms for being overzealous with the whip.
Horses, they don't
Muhammad's
seem
ability
like it,
had
but
to
they're
ask
very
yourself
smart
if
animals.
you're dumber than a horse. The answer is probably yes if you happen to
They're
say
very social too. We got our horse had to go to the hospital. Hello. How's it going? Our horse had to go to the hospital, and when we brought him back, they the other horse necked him. Basically, what they do is they take their head, like if this is the horse's head, they go like this to each other. Okay. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. They do this right here. They put their necks together, their heads like this. Or actually, it's not kind of what it is, but they put both their heads together, kind of like this. You know, they put their heads together because they missed each other. It's really adorable.
by now that there must be some trick at play here. There's no way this horse was actually thinking through these problems. Kral must have been giving him the answers somehow. Well, a number of scholars visited Muhammad, tested his abilities, and came away convinced his talent was genuine. Among them, Swiss neurologist and psychologist Edward Claparede. Now, no one got the chance to really take time and go through rigid scientific experiments to figure out how Muhammad was able to do all of this, because he was taken into service as a draft animal in World War I. So the horse was a fucking war hero too. With this, Muhammad was sort of lost to the annals of history, and nobody knows what ultimately happened to him. But given that an estimated 6 to 8 million horses died in the war, around half of all those who served in it, the outlook isn't good. This means no one knows for sure how Muhammad performed his complex calculations. Except me. See, Muhammad is not the only horse famous for performing calculations. Clever Hans was another German horse who lived during the same time as Muhammad.
Give me a second. Should I play my video? I guess never mind. I'm actually have the. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk. Oh yeah, right. I have the. Give me a second, folks. I'll be right back. I have to go get my blueprints for this build. I wrote them down in my college class when I was learning math. Trust me. Man, guys, it's almost Christmas. Cannot wait. How much cash do I have on me? I need this for reasons. 50. 153. Huh. I have a decent amount of cash. Not way too much. Compared to, my over... The reason I'm saying how much cash I have is because a lot of that cash, if you know me as a friend, my paper money doesn't last long. I turn it into coins. I go buy coins with them.
It's your Uncle Cooper.
Bill Tire. Oh wait, no, it's not Bill Tire. Hey, how's it going?
They're everyday tough.
A lot of people joining this stream.
Ahmed was able to do all it was subjected to vigorous scientific testing. Commission involved in Han's performance, just as scholars had concluded Muhammad was the real deal.
Actually, yes. You know what? Because you said that, I'm going to tell you something. Well, back then, I had an I still have this Xbox 360 today. And, well, here's the thing. When I was a kid, I said, oh, Minecraft Pocket Edition is okay. Minecraft Computer is better than Pocket Edition. So in my eyes, I thought that console would be better than computer. And not exactly. I logged in and I was disappointed. But even though I was disappointed, surprisingly, I actually played the game. I kept playing. And I grew up on my Xbox 360. When I say I did not update the game, this was a time when I was only allowed 5 minutes of YouTube videos per day. I'm not joking. 5 minutes, or not per day, per month. Because my internet was so bad. I remember once I woke up very early on my, I woke up an hour early on a school day, and I burnt all of my mom's data, and when I actually left my room, she was so pissed. Anyway, my sister, though, she got a PS3, and her PS3 was way better than my Xbox 360. And then we got my PS4, which was shared. I used to have to share my PS4 with my sister, which was annoying as hell. No offense to my sister if she ever watches this. But let's just say it was a little bit annoying. I mean, we had to actually, you know, share the PS5 or PS4. So, one of the reasons I like my Xbox 360, it has never, ever connected to the internet. Not once. And it will never connect to the internet because I don't know how to connect it. And that means that it is stuck on the download version of Minecraft. The game has never been updated. And I bought that damn Xbox years ago. And that, I remember when I was playing there, $100. You know, like just $250s, right? This, I'm holding in my hand, was like $1 million. Now it's like, it feels like $100 is like $10. Like, it is, money has lost its value. I remember when I saw a $100 bill, like, just laying around my house, and I'm like, whoa, you could buy the world with this thing. Now I get them regularly from a job. Even minimum wage jobs yield a decent amount of Benjis. Like, how much, like... And then, well, in April, I bought my PS5, and so did my sister, and now we both have separate PS5s. But dude, compared to the PS4, the PlayStation 5 is massive. It's the biggest console I own. But dude, every once in a while, my sister would let me borrow her PlayStation, she let me borrow her PlayStation 3. And it was so fun. It was so nostalgic. Because I used to have this bedroom, and I would have a loft, right? This bedroom, even though it was like, the room was like 8 foot tall, you used to be able to actually go, like, my bed was like on this, like, it was almost like a Minecraft house, right? I'm so sad I don't have any pictures of it, but it was a badass little bedroom for people my age. Anyway, So, I'd be able to crawl up onto this like little like platform. I'd climb a ladder, and then I would crawl my bed. And if you got my bed, there was this little like almost like living area with grass, like fake grass on it, and you'd have this hatch that you could open, and you could climb down a ladder underneath it. And then, like, it would climb you into this, like, little box, and you could exit through these tunnels. Like, these pipes. It was an awesome room. Sadly, it's been demolished. But it was one of the best bedrooms I've ever had. Actually, no, it was the best. It's supposed to be like a Minecraft fort. My dad custom built. But, well, you'd be able to sit on your bed and watch TV. I had a light that was there. It broke after like 2 months. It didn't even... And you can like still see the area where the light was fixed to this day. The light fixture is still there. It's a hell of a TV room. And then my sister used to tell me, keep the PlayStation off or else you'll melt the damn thing. I'd always keep it on. I wouldn't give a crap. But yeah, that brings me back.
The Commission then passed the investigation off to biologist and psychologist Oscar Funkst, who used a series of tests to determine how clever Hans was answering the questions. He performed the tests away from spectators to make sure someone in the audience wasn't signaling the horse, and sure enough, Hans could still answer. He then used blinders to see if Hans could still answer the questions without...
This is not Xbox 360. Nope. This is definitely not Xbox 360. This is PlayStation 5. I've moved on from my Xbox days. I mean, even because the Xbox is enforcing this garbage policy where you literally get banned if you curse too many times. Yeah, nope, I'm not playing Xbox. I'm sorry. Oh man, but my PS4 Legacy days, man, that is nostalgic as hell. Oh, PS5s. They're actually... I remember when I used to think that they were like $1,000. Do not believe this stupid scam. PlayStation 5s are not worth $1,000. They're worth like $550. Which... Fun fact, I bought my PlayStation 4, my mom did, for more money than the PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 5 is cheaper than the PlayStation 4. Pounds, I don't use pounds. But man, I remember when the economy was so good. You ready for this? This is a steal. I bought a PlayStation 4 Slim for $250. And then like a year later, that price shot up back to $600. I'm not joking, not clickbait. I bought a PlayStation Slim for $250, which is a $350 discount. Which, if you ask me, is a hell of a deal. I mean, can you imagine getting that much money off of a PlayStation Slim of all things? I gave it to my sister for her birthday, and she enjoyed it. Like my sister's older than me, if you were wondering. I bought, like, you know, I was tired of, you know, having to share my PlayStation 4, and I was tired of all the fights that it would always bring out, so I bought a PlayStation Slim. Like, you know, whatever. Like, instead of buying my, like, mods for my four-wheeler, not 56 pounds. Own it. How are they worth that? Because they're old, they're not modern, and they're cheap. That is such a bad explanation, but they're old now. They don't have as complicated hardware. For example, you probably couldn't run Horizon Forbidden West on a PlayStation 3.
But to see Von Osten, he couldn't. Bingo. So Von Osten was somehow signaling the horse, even if Funks didn't know exactly how he was doing it.
There's a lot of PlayStation 2s. There's like,
the horse to respond to some secret gestures or something.
it's like 2 million PlayStation 2s or
Well,
something.
Clever Hans was then tested with questioners other than Von Osten.
No, not 2 million. There's 200 million
Still
PlayStation
getting the
2s.
answers right. As long as Hans could see the questioner, it didn't seem to matter who was asking the questions. So Von Osten wasn't using secret signals. Now we've a real mystery on our hands. Funks then tested Hans with questions that the questioner didn't know the answer to in advance. The horse failed, so the horse wasn't able to think through the problems himself, but as long as he could see the questioner and the questioner knew the answer, he was somehow able to read the questioner's mind. So Hans wasn't actually intelligent, he was just psychic. Send him off to the glue factory. I'm just kidding. Clever Hans was an incredibly intelligent horse. Let me explain how he was doing this. Funks determined that Clever Hans was closely watching his questioner as he tapped his feet. When he was getting close to the correct amount of taps, the questioner's posture and facial expression would very subtly build up tension, which was released when the horse arrived at the exact amount of taps.
Back to your mind.
To stop tapping.
Right.
Funks
Welcome to the rice field.
part of the horse, and having people ask him what number they were thinking of. Tapping with his hand and monitoring the questioner very closely, he noticed there were some tells in the questioner's body language that gave the answer away. The questioners weren't doing this intentionally. It was an unconscious reaction, and one that was very subtle. So unconscious and so
Building a
subtle
mint.
that even when Funks was sure he knew what these tells were, he still couldn't suppress them enough to fool Clever Hans. His body language would betray him no matter how he tried to prevent it. This was an incredibly perceptive horse. Funks arrived at the conclusion that even Von Osten didn't know how his horse was getting the right answers. That's right, the horse's master wasn't in on the trick. He himself genuinely believed the horse was really smart. He didn't realize he hadn't trained the horse how to do maths. He had trained it to respond. Explained this to Von Osten, he supposedly wasn't convinced. He continued to show Clever Hans around Germany, attracting large crowds who were amazed by the horse's talents, even though they didn't truly understand what those talents were. Unfortunately, like Muhammad, Clever Hans was drafted into World War I in 1916, and his fate is unknown. That's fucking sad.
Is that a horse gas mask?
Gone on to be known as the Clever Hans effect and illustrate the need for double blinds in experiments in which neither the subject nor the experimenter is aware of the status of the subject, in order to eliminate the influence of bias, as neither will have preconceived expectations or predictions. The Clever Hans
It's a facility that makes
observed
coins in money.
dogs who pick up cues from their handler and produce false positives. Basically, poor training may lead to a dog picking out packages based on their handler's expectations rather than their own senses. On the job, this can lead to dogs simply picking out packages that the handlers are already suspicious of. So the horses were actually pretty smart. They even fooled their trainers. So smart, they've gone down in scientific history. And when you put it like that, yeah, you are dumber than a horse. Well, if you like this video, I have many more for your dumb ass to enjoy. I'm now also on Facebook.
I'm so glad I'm like 12% Irish. Oh, I don't need a mod. The channel's so small that it, Oh, I fight them. I'm good at it. The 300 million yen bank robbery was stupidly perfect. Or... Oh my gosh. Or, okay, you ready for something scary that's nightmare fuel? Methanol fires. Methanol? Oh, hello. When methanol burns, it burns in this very, very hard to see blue flame. At night, you can see it. At daylight, the flame is invisible. So if you are covered in methanol and you are burning and you're on fire, nobody will see that you're on fire. Like, what it looks like is people will do this. They'll go like this, they'll shake, and to you, it would look like there's nothing happening and you're just being funny. But to the person, they're burning alive and they have methanol on them. Methanol, I'm building a mint. It's a facility that makes coins. And it's actually very, it's pretty much, it's actually pretty realistic.
However, no one. If asked for the worst ways to die, burning is probably pretty high on most people's lists. Even if the incident isn't fatal, nobody wants to get burned. Imagine then an invisible fire. You're engulfed in completely transparent flames. Because you can't see it, you don't know how to escape it. And worst of all, nobody will know how to help you or even realize
it's invisible
you're in
too.
need of help.
Ugh.
Methanol is a flammable chemical often used as fuel. Compared to gasoline, which has a carbon content of around 87% by weight, methanol is only about 38% carbon. With much less carbon
Looks like
to
it
burn,
burns slower.
methanol fires do not emit as much light as gasoline fires. Methanol burns with a transparent blue light, enough to illuminate the dark, but it's practically invisible in daylight. It also doesn't produce smoke. Methanol also has a lower rate of combustion than gasoline, meaning it burns slower and doesn't get as hot. This means a methanol fire is technically easier to contain than a gasoline fire, but if you can't see it, you can't contain it. This is evident in the 1981 Indianapolis 500 pit fire. Rick Mears is pitting on lap 58. While he waits for his crew to service his car, a refueling hose starts spraying fuel connected to the car. This covers Mears, his crew, and the car in methanol, which ignites when it comes into contact with the engine. They are engulfed in invisible flames. The crew flees. They can feel the fire, but can't see it. Panic ensues. Rick Mears jumps out of his car. He is on fire, and after inhaling and feeling the heat go down his throat, realizes he must hold his breath. A safety worker tries to remove his helmet, but catches a light and runs away. He jumps the barrier and runs to someone with a fire extinguisher. They try to put Mears out, but catch fire themselves. They drop the extinguisher and run away, leaving Mears to pick it up and try to extinguish himself. Mears' fueler, having already been sprayed with extinguishers, has trouble alerting the crew that he is still on fire. He flails around both in reaction to the burning pain and in an attempt to signal he needs help. Rick Mears' father rushes to his son with a fire extinguisher and puts him out, and the safety team manage to extinguish everything else. Rick Mears and 4 of his mechanics were sent to hospital, and Mears had to have plastic surgery on his face, particularly his nose. Thankfully, however, no one was seriously injured. This is not all.
That's good.
Always
The man is not injured.
Involving the combustion of methanol. In 2005, at the Butler Motor Speedway in Michigan, USA, 49-year-old Rudy Corsini was working as a fuel man during that day's races. Corsini was in a fuel shed constructed of wood, transferring methanol from one container to another, when suddenly there was a spark, suspected to have come from improper wiring at the pumps. This spark ignited the methanol and caused an explosion. Corsini was engulfed in invisible flame as all around him the fuel shed caught fire, igniting gasoline and propane. Despite this, Corsini somehow managed to escape the burning building. A race car driver who was also a firefighter came to his aid, wrapping a shirt around his face to extinguish any burning methanol and protect him from inhalation.
Trying to get my phone on so I can see my blueprint again.
Some
Keeps turning off.
spectators were evacuated as fire departments quickly contained the large fire. Corsini was flown by helicopter to a burns unit at a nearby hospital. He suffered 3-degree burns to 90% of his body.
Ow.
Rudy Corsini died of his injuries the following day.
That
Methanol
sucks.
fuel
Like,
is
you
still
can't see
widely used
it.
in racing, and one of the reasons is, believe it or not, safety. As previously mentioned, it burns slower and cooler than gasoline. Also, unlike gasoline, it can be put out with plain water. You'd think the fact that it's practically invisible in daylight would make it much more dangerous, but actually, its visibility is considered to largely be a good thing. The lack of flames or smoke means a fire
That
doesn't
makes
create a
sense.
visual
Yeah, it's invisible, but
obstruction, which
the
could be a
smoke
huge
isn't
problem
getting to
on
the
a
air, and it's
racetrack,
not.
posing a serious risk to safety workers and other racers. Of course, the downside to invisible flames is detecting them, as we've seen with Rick Mears' incident. The
No, I
level of
don't. I'm sorry, I don't do
confusion and
Rocket
panic
League.
it inspires is much harder to quantify than its rate of combustion or temperature. Methanol fires may be technically safer, but they're still terrifying. You could be on fire, but when you look down, you don't even know where to start to put it out, and neither will anyone watching you. They might set themselves on fire if they come to your aid without realizing what's happening. You might not know which way to turn to get away from the fire, or avoid more sources of methanol, which is transparent in its liquid form. And all the while, you're breathing in invisible flames and burning your lungs. That is the horror
Oh, it's fine.
of methanol fires.
To people that say burning is the worst way to die, radiation sickness is. Radiation sickness is evil. Like, what's it called? You can put out a fire. I'm sorry, I just do these by myself, but anyway, as I was saying. Unlike you could put out a fire. You could maybe have an antidote to venom. But radiation in higher doses is almost incurable. Like, for example, radium poisoning. Once radium gets into your body, it doesn't leave. And it stays into your bones until you die. Actually, not even until you die. Even after you die, the radium is still in your bones. Where it will stay. Which is just horrifying in my opinion. And there it continues to weaken your bone until it's a honeycomb structure. But anyway, here's where it gets bad. Radiation sickness induces vomiting, diarrhea, bleeding from almost all orifices. You will be weak, your bones will be brittle, and you will suffer immense fatigue at higher doses, though. At lower doses, it's not as bad. But here's the thing. What's more scary about it is that after you get it, it's gonna suck, but then it's gonna seemingly go away, right? Like, the radiation sickness is just gonna go away, and you're gonna be, it seems like you're getting better, but then after a week or so of this period, it will come back harder than what it was when you were being hit by it. So, this second, let's go. The first phase is that it hurts. Second phase is when you get better. Third phase is when it hurts again, but third phase hurts way more than the first phase. It's at I'll be right back, folks. I think I forgot my dog goes outside. I'm back. I actually forgot to let my doggos in. Luckily, even though it's December, it's not really that cold outside. It is 10 degrees Celsius? What? It's 10°C. Dude, I thought it'd be like 4 or 5. It's 10 degrees centigrade. That's half as hot as a summer day. What the hell? That's a third of what a summer day's heat is like. Usually, this time of year, it should be teetering in the single digits, lower single digits. That's warm. Thank goodness those poor doggos didn't get frozone.
No matter which direction you come from, this open landscape.
Why this straightforward world record is so deadly? I want to see what it is.
The water speed record, that is the fastest speed achieved.
Oh boy, yep, I knew it was gonna be the water
most
speed
hazardous
record.
records to attempt in the world of sport. Few people attempt it, and even fewer survive. As evidence of this point, since 1930, only 13 people have it.
Okay, you remember wondering, okay, why is it that hard? Okay, why is it more dangerous than land speeding? I'm gonna tell you what, right? When you are going fast and you fall off of a boat and you land on that water, you are going to have a awful time. When you hit that water, it is going to be like hitting pavement if you get thrown out of a car. Which, hitting water at that, like, imagine, okay, I want you to do something, right? Fill your sink up with water and smack it, okay? Smack it flat-handed, and it hurts, okay? Now imagine your body doing that at a speed that is way more fast than what you just did. Now anyway, what happens with boats is then they're going so fast, they'll go like this, and when the wind will catch under their front, because boats are shaped like this, if this is the front, right? And the air will flip like this, or the boat will flip like this, and it'll fall over. Let me see if I can find a... let's see. Ironically, this eraser, if we have this eraser and it's a boat, right? The air will catch the boat and it will flip over and land with the top of the boat landing on the water. It's evil. Let me see if this video demonstrates it perfectly. And it hurts like hell when it happens. If it reloads. I just watched an ad to get this video to play. Why do I have to load?
Is one of the most hazardous attempted the record, and 7 of those were killed while trying. Before we get into what the record is, who holds it, and the machine they used to break it, let's first discuss why it's so dangerous. Take for comparison the land speed record. If you were attempting the land speed record, whether out on the desert or on a tarmac track, you'd first make sure your intended course was on a smooth surface. Once you've confirmed there's no dips or bumps in the course, you can be confident you're not going to encounter any when you take off. Water, being a fluid, provides no such guarantees.
Exactly.
The of your course is constantly
That's why land speed is so much more safer, because think about this, right? When you're on land, you imagine if you took your car to an airport, right? The airports are really smooth. Like, let's say the airport is very smooth, because some airports are a little bit rugged, right? Maybe. I think so. I'm not too sure. Anyway, theoretically, if you had a long tarmac that's like even like a few miles long, that's very easy to achieve. But with water, waters stay still. It always moves, no matter if you want it to or not. It will always be moving.
With waves, currents, and wind. While the surface of the water may look smooth and calm before you set out, there's not much preventing you from encountering a disturbance in the water while you're travelling at extreme speeds and battering your craft into it. Another benefit the land speed record has is that the vehicle is combating air resistance rather than water resistance, which is obviously much greater, resulting in a watercraft requiring a lot more power.
Like, take your hand, and if you have a bathtub, fill it, even down, not only slap it, but try to push your hand through the water, right? Push your hand through the air, right? There's no resistance, because that's air. Now push it through water, and you'll be resisted upon, because the density in a body of water is higher than air, because air's density is not that much, right? So therefore, you can move very easily in air. But in things like water, it is dense, because the density of water is 1. What's the density of air? It is 1 point, let's see. Oh my god. Can you please? I have no idea. I have no idea what the density of air is.
It's comparable to a land vehicle. These two factors, power and unpredictability, make the water speed record an incredibly dangerous venture. Before the turn of the 20th century, the record was held by steam-powered, propeller-driven vehicles, like William B. Cogswell's Phasine, a steam yacht that broke the record in 1893 with a speed of 31.6 miles per hour. Another notable record holder of this time is Charles R. Flint, who founded the company that would later become IBM. His steam yacht Arrow broke the record in 1903 with a speed of 45.06 miles per hour. In 1911, the record was broken by the first gasoline-powered craft, the Dixie 4. Piloted by Frederick Burnham, the Dixie 4 reached speeds of 47 miles per hour. Later that year, the Dixie 4 was in a race when it lost control after crossing the wake left by another boat, and leapt into the crowd, cutting off a boy's leg. The Dixie never raced again, but its gasoline engine signaled a new era of experimentation for the water speed record. In 1919, the record would be broken by Hydrodome number 4, or HD4, an early research hydrofoil developed by Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of
Alexander Graham, I'd say that guy big.
Achieved a speed of 70.86 miles per hour in HD4. In 1920, Garfield Wood set a new record of 71.43 miles per hour in a boat called Miss America. In the following years, he would build numerous new versions of Miss America and break the record multiple times. In 1928, Wood would set the record with Miss America 7, 93.12 miles per hour. At this point in time, the land speed record was being dominated by British drivers, and some saw the American-led water speed record as a challenge to bring that honour to Britain too. To this end, Miss England was built, to be piloted by Sir Henry Segrave, who had held a land speed record. The boat was not capable of beating Miss America, and thus was built Miss England 2, powered by 2 Rolls-Royce aircraft engines. In his first 2 runs in 1930, Segrave set a new world record of 98.8 miles per hour. However, on his 3rd run, in an attempt to improve the record even further, the boat flipped, killing both Segrave and his co-driver. In 1931, Garfield Wood recaptured the record for the US at 102.16 miles per hour, but Miss England II was salvaged and repaired, took the record from Wood just a month later with a speed of 110.2 miles per hour. But in early 1932, Wood reclaimed it with 111.709 miles per hour. The British then built Miss England III, and Don broke the record twice in 2 runs, leaving it at 119.81 miles per hour. Garfield Wood was determined to have the last laugh in this rivalry though, and so built the massive Miss America X, or Miss America 10, powered by 4 supercharged Packard aeroplane engines. In 1932, 1952, he set the record again at 124.
Dude, that guy's booking.
At this point, K-Don declined to attempt any more records, and satisfied he had bested his rival, Garfield Wood also stepped away from racing. The two men had traded the record back and forth numerous times, and their departure from the scene marked the end of an era. These two great rivals both lived into their 90s, a turn of events that may not have occurred had they continued, as the record was starting to get dangerously fast, and it would only get faster with new boat designs. Another challenger, British man Malcolm Campbell, decided he'd take on the record. Campbell had set the land speed record multiple times in his iconic Bluebird cars. In 1937, he made his way onto the water with Bluebird K3, a hydroplane powerboat that set the water speed record to 126.33 miles per hour. 2 years later, Campbell had a new boat, the Bluebird K4, and with it, a new record, 141.74 miles per hour. But the year was 1939, and soon the world had more important matters to attend to than the water speed record. After World War II, it seemed there was a new way forward for the record: the jet engine. In 1945, Malcolm Campbell renovated the Bluebird K4 with such an engine, but he was unable to break the record and retired. He died in 1948 as the holder. It wasn't until 1950 that the United States had a chance of reclaiming the record, with Stanley Sayre's hydroplane Slow Motion 4, setting it at 160.323 miles per hour, and then beating it again in 1952 with a speed of 178.49 miles per hour. The American recapture of the record inspired Malcolm Campbell's son, Donald Campbell, to take it back in his father's memory. He hopped on board his father's Bluebird K4, but by now the craft was 12 years old and incapable of beating slow motion. It suffered a structural failure at high speed and was written off. Donald Campbell would live to fight another day, however. Englishman John Cobb then stepped up to the plate with his jet-powered speedboat Crusader. Cobb was another multiple-time holder of the land speed record, but while attempting to break the water speed record in Loch Ness in 1952, Crusader hit a wake at high speed and disintegrated, throwing Cobb from the craft.
Dude.
When he was recovered from the water, he had already died of shock. An outlandish theory claims the wake that destroyed Crusader was from the Loch Ness Monster as
Oh
it
my
tried
God.
to escape the boat. Then, for the first time, an Italian man attempted the record. The Italian Motorboat Federation had offered 5 million lira for any Italian who could beat the record, inspiring Mario Verga to build the hydroplane Laura 3, named after his daughter. In 1954, he attempted to break the record, but the boat lost control and somersaulted through the air, throwing Verga. Like John Cobb, he died of shock. Donald Campbell then returned for another attempt at the record, this time with an all-new boat, the jet-powered Bluebird K7. With this beastly machine, Campbell dominated the water speed record, breaking it over and over for years. By 1964, his record sat at 276.33 miles per hour. He is the most prolific water speed breaker of all time, having broken the record 7 consecutive times over 9 years. Also in 1964, he achieved the land speed record in the Bluebird C97. It was the last time the record would be held by a wheel-driven vehicle before it was taken over by jet and rocket propulsion. In 1964, Californian boat racer Lee Taylor attempted the record in his jet-powered boat Hustler. During a test run, Taylor was unable to turn off the jet and Hustler crashed into the lakeside at over 100 miles per hour. The boat was wrecked, although Taylor survived, albeit severely injured. In 1967, Campbell attempted to break the record for the 8th time. On his first run, it seemed the revamped Bluebird K7 was about to break the record, but when Campbell turned around for the return leg, he neglected to wait for the lake to settle again and immediately sped back off into his own wake. The Bluebird became airborne and cartwheeled across the water surface, killing Donald Campbell instantly. His body wasn't located until 2001. Like his father before him, Donald Campbell left behind a legacy as one of history's greatest speedsters, breaking both the land and water speed records. Later in 1967, Lee Taylor reappeared with a rebuilt Hustler. He tried again for the record, but the wake left by spectators' boats disturbed the water and he was forced to abandon his run. Trying again later the same day, he set the record at 285.22 miles per hour. At this point, every water speed record had been set by just 4 nationalities: American, Canadian, Irish, and British. In 1977, a whole decade after the record was last set, Australian Ken Warby took a shot at it with his boat, Spirit of Australia. Warby's childhood hero was Donald Campbell, and he wanted to recapture the record from Lee Taylor in Campbell's memory, just as Campbell had recaptured the record in his father's memory. Warby had built the Spirit of Australia from wood and fiberglass in his backyard. Evidently, he did a good job because he set the record at 288.6 miles per hour. With this, he was able to find sponsorship to pay for improvements on the boat, and in 1978 set the record again at 317.596 miles per hour. This is a record that still stands to this day, and there have been only 2 official attempts since then. In 1980, Lee Taylor was determined to take the record back. Inspired by the rocket cars now entering the land speed scene, Taylor built the rocket-powered Discovery 2. He tested it in Walker Lake in Nevada, but this was an inconvenient location for his financial backers, and so he moved his attempt to Lake Tahoe. When the conditions of the lake proved unfavorable, Taylor decided against trying for the record, but he didn't want to disappoint his backers or assembled spectators and media. So he tried a test run instead, just to demonstrate the craft's capabilities. At 270 miles per hour, Discovery 2 came apart and plunged into the water. The cockpit was intended to float, but for some reason it failed to. It was recovered 3 days later with Lee Taylor inside. He had drowned to death. In 1989, Craig Arfons attempted
Yeah,
the
this
record.
is right. This is the
His family
shit.
name held some prestige in the racing world, as his father had built the world's first jet car, and his uncle was a multiple-time holder of the
That thing
land
looks like
record.
Luchador.
Arfons' craft, Rain X Challenger, somersaulted just a few seconds into
Oh.
his run, sending the cockpit into the water upside down. It was recovered 3 minutes later, and Arfons was resuscitated until his pulse returned. He remained unresponsive, however, and Craig Arfons was pronounced dead over an hour later.
Dude,
Ken Warby's record
I think-
stands, although many
I
other
think
highs set on
we just need to
breaking
lay
some
off the
place
boat
in
records.
record history before. Project Quicksilver is based on designs by Ken Norris, who had worked with the Campbells on their Bluebird designs. Ken Warby himself planned a return with Spirit of Australia 2, which he had apparently worked on with his son David, who may assume his father's mantle after his passing in February 2023. But for now, the water speed record remains the possession of 1978. For reference, the land speed record was last set in 1997. The water speed
Yeah,
record, however,
you
is
are right.
obviously
It is terribly
incredibly
good.
hazardous
Thanks for the
to
comment.
attempt. If you tried to beat Ken
I really
Warby's
appreciate
record,
it.
you'd be joining just 2 other hopefuls, both of whom
I rarely get
that
comments
means
applauding my world for how
has a
great it truly is.
100% fatality rate. Most are probably
So
happy
thanks,
enough
buddy.
to leave this record in 1978.
You really did make my day.
That's probably for the best.
Shut you out, my dude.
9 years later, in 1989, Craig Arfons took up the challenge in Florida. He was a drag racer, unfamiliar with the dangers of extreme speed over water. He reached the awesome speed of 370 miles per hour, but then his boat went out of control. Another life lost to the water speed record.
Again, can people not do? Oh yes, the Zimbabwe or Zambia conspiracy, the Zambian space
Yeah.
training.
With HPE GreenLake, we have access to supercomputing to power AI at scale,
Helping you give us better insights.
helping leave our competition in the dust.
I can get the exact same brand of contacts
from 1-800-CONTACTS that I can get from my
I don't
eye
need
doctor.
contacts.
Right now, you can save 20% on your first order, plus fast free shipping right to your door.
As an activist and freedom fighter, he was arrested and
Your packages from your online selling channels, picked up from your warehouse. Let Amazon Shipping deliver your orders on time throughout the week and over the weekend with rates that save you money. Make shipping as easy as shopping.
Ugh.
You signed up to run a marathon? You don't even
What?
spacecraft.
Spacecraft.
Today there are many countries with their own space programs, but only 3 nations have ever launched their own crewed spacecraft: the US, Russia, and China. China's capabilities here are largely attributed to the Russians letting them copy their homework, but American and Russian space programs date back to the 50s and were fueled by mutual rivalry to develop spaceflight capability, known as the space race. The space race saw the United States and the Soviet Union compete to create the first artificial satellite, put the first human in space, and put the first man on the moon. But there was an unlikely third competitor that threatened to beat them both: the African nation of Zambia. Yes, in the 1960s, Zambia had its own space program, although, well, if you've ever seen Ghana's advanced military hardware, this was less convincing than that. Zambia's space program first came to international attention in 1964, when Northern Rhodesia gained independence from Britain and became the Republic of Zambia. The global media were surprised to hear of a Zambian man who wasn't all too happy with this, and even more surprised to find out why. He was Edward Makuka Nkoloso, a grade school science teacher and director of Zambia's National Academy of Science, Space Research and Philosophy. Nkoloso complained that the current political machinations were disruptive to his space program and his quest to beat the US and Soviet Union to put the first person on the moon. Now, this may surprise you, but Zambia's National Academy of Science, Space Research and Philosophy wasn't an official office, and Nkoloso had made it up and appointed himself Director General. Despite this, the Academy did actually have a facility and trainee space cadets. Believe it or not,
at least they tried.
They even had a rocket.
Is that a tube with a hole in it? What am I watching?
As you can see, it's less state-of-the-art and more just state, as in
State.
the state of all this shite. Yeah, the Academy's facility was an abandoned farm, and Nkoloso's dozen trainee astronauts, or Afronauts as he calls them, were little more than teenagers. Training exercises included being put in an oil drum and rolled down the hill, and swinging from a tree on a tire. This was to simulate weightlessness. Nkoloso said his space program was inspired by his first flight on an airplane, where he was disappointed that the pilot wouldn't stop the plane so he could walk around on the clouds. Man, they don't even stop to let you have a piss, never mind go for a walk. Nkoloso's goal was to put an astronaut on the moon. The Academy had also come to the conclusion that Mars was inhabited by primitive natives, and Nkoloso wanted to set up a Christian ministry there to convert them. But he wouldn't be able to do any of this without financial backing, so he wrote to numerous countries and organizations asking for money, including the US, the Soviet Union, Israel, and UNESCO. The amounts he asked for ranged from $20 million to $2 billion. Surprisingly, every organization turns down these very reasonable requests, although some did respond with well wishes and advice. Sadly, you can't fuel a rocket ship with well wishes and advice, and assumedly they tried, but Zambia's space program soon fell apart due to problems both internal and external. Nkoloso claimed that foreign meddling greatly disrupted Zambia's space program, and spies from the US and Soviet Union were eager to steal their secrets, which, according to Nkoloso, were way more advanced than anything either of the superpowers had to offer. Another problem was the Academy's constant relocating. Their headquarters would move to locations that just coincidentally lined up with whatever new day job Nkoloso had gained employment in. Worst of all, though, were the astronauts. Astronauts, famous for their bumbling ignorance and high-handed arrogance, are well known for their grandstanding and their hot-dogging, and the astronauts were no exception. Enkel also claims the international attention had gone to their heads, making them think they were stars. They had the gall to ask to be paid for their work. Two of Enkelosso's best men went on a drinking spree and never returned. Another joined a local tribal song and dance group. The rest, Enkelosso claimed, were too busy making love instead of focusing on their studies. A female astronaut fell pregnant and had to return to her parents. By 1969, man had reached the moon, but the flag that flew on its surface was American, not Zambian. Edward Makuka Enkelosso had watched someone else achieve his dream. Zambia's space program was nothing more than a laughingstock. But who was the joke really on? Who was this guy? Was he for real? Edward Makuka Enkelosso was born in 1919 in northern Rhodesia. He received a missionary education learning theology, Latin and French. He wanted to join the priesthood but was drafted to fight in World War II as a member of the Northern Rhodesian Regiment under Britain.
Yeah, I'm down to get building on Minecraft.
And it's
Lol.
here where he reportedly first learned an interest in science.
Again, thank you. You are absolutely respectful to me, and I respect that.
Though the colonial administration
Make sure to subscribe and like, and hit that bell.
He opened one anyways, and it was shut down and he was prosecuted. He then joined the resistant movement and gained a following as an activist and freedom fighter. He was arrested and imprisoned in 1956 and 1957. According to Enkelosso, he was tortured during this time. Upon his release, he was appointed National Steward of the United National Independence Party, which was formed by Kenneth Kaunda, who would later become Zambia's first president. When this happened, Enkelosso served as President Kaunda's special representative at the African Liberation Center, an organization that supported the work of freedom fighters all across Africa in their struggle against colonialism. Friends and enemies agreed that Enkelosso was a very
happened in South America.
Fellow, but what they couldn't seem to agree on
South America was
mental state
nuclear.
and how
Or,
committed
oh
to
my god,
Zambia's space
South
program he
Africa.
was. Some say he was
It's like
just
the only
eccentric,
nuclear
others
state.
say he was crazy. There's even the view that his mind was broken by the torture during his arrest and imprisonment, and he was never the same again. As such, there are several theories that explain the motivations behind the Zambian space program. The first is that it was all done in earnest, and Enkelosso really believed he could put an astronaut on the moon. The second is that it was just a bit of harmless fun, and maybe even a bit of a satire of colonialist attitudes towards Africa. While the global media was busy making a mockery of Zambia's space program, maybe they hadn't realized that the Zambian space program had made a mockery of them. There's a metal band I like called Gwar, and they dress up in these ridiculous costumes and play the part of intergalactic aliens. I find people's first reaction to this is either utter bewilderment or smug condescension. Oh, you like these clowns? This is like a child's idea of cool. Look at their silly costumes. I think the Zambia space program might be a little bit like Gwar in this regard. Like, good job, genius, you got the point of it being a joke, but have now somehow convinced yourself it's you who's playing it on them. How long do you make it through a Three Stooges movie before proclaiming, hey, these guys are a bunch of morons? I think the whole converting the primitive Martians thing is probably the best evidence of this. That seems like a subtle wink and a nod sort of thing. The third theory is that the space program was merely a front for freedom-fighting operations, and Enkelosso was using it to teach young recruits covertly. Maybe if you're widely known as the village idiot who thinks he's a spaceman, it's easier to explain
Yeah, that could have been a feedback loop right there.
In your possession. Enkelosso worked as a teacher on and off throughout his life, teaching Latin, science, and maths. In 1983, he received a law degree from the University of Zambia. Sadly, in 1989, he passed away at the age of 70. He was buried with presidential honors. In tribute to Enkelosso's contributions to space travel, I will be setting up my own space program, with hopes of offering an alternative to
yeah, if we're going to Pluto, guys, let's set up our own space mission.
So if you're sick of these bastards, or even if you are one of these good people, why not consider supporting the Kukser space program by joining my channel membership or donating to me on Patreon. You can also just subscribe and watch my videos. That's free.
Or the...
Bring Zambia for the world space race.
Dude, the world is such an interesting place. The time in there's another video on this. Yes. The inhumanely bad driver of Ireland. Didn't this guy get like ticketed literally all across the UK? Yeah, I've seen a lot of these videos, but it's just fun to go back and watch them when you're just playing some Minecraft. Oh my gosh, like yeah, my YouTube is just not playing videos. It's so broken that even the ads don't want to play.
Steph Curry really is popular to me because he plays just like
I don't even know who this person is. Why am I getting these ads? I literally don't get the point of advertisements on YouTube.
Would probably start getting some recognition.
Yes.
Everyone has a few stories about bad drivers. Either you're the bad driver, or your friend is, or you just saw a bad driver doing something crazy one day. The worst is when
I had someone pull out from a turn lane and cut me off when I was going down a road
oblivious to the fact
in a
that they're
city.
a law unto themselves out on these roads. I've been in a car with someone travelling down the wrong side of the road while they continue talking as if everything was normal, and I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? Do they even know they're putting our lives at risk? Should I even bring this up, or are we both just going to continue as if nothing out of the ordinary is happening? Is this how I'm going to die? Having a conversation about the housing market? But in Ireland, there's one bad driver that stands out among all the rest. This is for a number of reasons, but perhaps the most interesting is that they were a phantom. Their identity was as fluid as the air. So who, or what, was this mysterious bad driver? We'll open up this story with a little trivia for you. In Ireland, we don't call the police force the police, we call them the guards. Now, obviously, many countries have their own names for their police, but it's usually just police in whatever the local language is. Not so in Ireland, where the police force's official name is An Garda Síochána, which is Gaelic and means the guard or guardian of the peace. We just call them the guards.
Nice.
Usually in my videos I just refer to them as the police, because otherwise no one is going to know what I'm talking about without that preamble, but now I can finally call them the guards in a video. Well, in 2007, the guards encountered an anomaly on one of their databases. Over 50 traffic violations, all committed by one person.
Damn.
They were a Polish national by the name of Prawo Jazdy. Jazdy's crimes included everything from speeding to parking violations, and they've been committed all over the country. So how did Jazdy become Ireland's most prolific traffic offender without the guards even noticing until now?
No kidding,
I mean, you'd think if this person was getting
like, if
pulled
this guy
over
even
so
got
often,
3, wouldn't they, like, put him on a list of, like, we need to get this guy off the
before it
road?
came up in the database? I can't imagine asking an FBI agent about someone on the most wanted list and they say, oh yeah, I'd never even heard of that guy. He just came up when I sorted by number of crimes in descending order. Even more perplexing was how Jazdy kept committing these crimes. Usually you're only allowed a handful of violations before your license is revoked, and I mean, if you keep driving after that, and you keep getting caught breaking the rules of the road when you're not even supposed to be behind the wheel, how do you not go to prison? You know, you didn't indicate going through that junction there. Tack. Jesus, is that you, Pravo? I should have known. With Dampignoni. You were going very fast there when you went through that old junction there, Pravo. Tack. The light was red. You nearly killed that old woman. Tack. Are those cans of Karpaki sitting in the seat beside you, Pravo? Tack. Ah, no, you haven't been drinking them now, have you, Bravo? Tack. And it looks like you've turned one of the empty cans into some sort of makeshift pipe. Tack. You haven't been smoking crack and driving again, have you? Tack. Well, alright then, so, best be on your way. Don't be seeing you. Bye. Looking into the matter further, the guards discovered that Pravo Jazdy had given a different home address in every encounter. Was this how they somehow managed to fly under the radar for so long? No. Something was very wrong here. If you speak Polish, you've known what went wrong for Pravo Jazdy isn't a name, it's the Polish for driver's license. Yes, in over 50
Ooh.
separate incidents, a guard had written up someone using a Polish driver's license and mistook Prawo Jazdy for their name. Here's a contemporary sample of a Polish driver's license so you can see how stupid that is. I mean, even if for some reason you didn't ask the person their name so you could verify which one of these details corresponds with the phonetics, how could you think this one was the name? I mean, Jesus, come on. This happened 50 fucking times? I wonder are there any entries in the database under the name of... I should also point out that it's possible not all the entries were mistakes. Maybe some offenders intentionally misled guards as to their identity after being caught breaking the law. So why was the worst traffic offender in Ireland Polish? Surely if they were dumb enough to misread the Polish license, they'd be dumb enough to misread any other foreign license too, right? Why was the Polish license the worst offender? Well, Polish was Ireland's second largest immigration population around that time.
So it makes sense.
With immigrants from the UK being the largest. Actually, the Polish have since dethroned the Brits in this regard. And just anecdotally, I've known a few Polish people, and they seem to have a general enthusiasm for cars. So maybe that's partially the reason Prawo Jazdy racked up as many traffic violations as they did. Of course, I have no scientific evidence to back this up, and this wild generalization may even be considered offensive to those of you of Polish descent, to whom I offer these pictures of cars as an apology. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, you like that, don't you? Ooh, you can make that one your profile picture on Facebook. After the discovery, an internal memo was sent out among the guards pointing out the embarrassing mistake and calling for new guidelines to be put in place on the system. This has supposedly been done, and in 2013 a common format for driving licenses was introduced for all countries in the European Economic Area, of which both Ireland and Poland are part. For the mistake, the guards were awarded the Ig Nobel Prize in Literature in 2009. The prize is satirical in nature and is to honour achievements that first make people laugh and then make them think. The award was accepted by a Polish national who had received a ticket in Ireland. What a neat little story. This is usually the part of the video where I ask you to subscribe.
I think that guy... Is that guy there? Oof. Oof. Owie. That hurts. This guy was coming in saying, "Ooh, you know shit," or something, whatever. Man, talk about that. He's a Fortnite YouTuber, and he has 14 subscribers, one video. Ooh, do you think I'm good? No. Man, I probably pissed that guy off. That's how you make people annoyed. You literally just be nice. They will not attack you if you're nice to them. Or if you're just straight up oblivious. Get wrecked. Get pawned. Oh man, that is so funny. Anyway, guys, I have to eat my dinner, my lunch. We come home. Oh my god, I cannot even speak correctly today. Yeah, see, I played onto it. I played onto that. I got him good. I'm not mad because if I get mad, I know that they're winning. And if it's one thing I know how to do, I don't let people win. I don't let people get satisfaction. I immediately got him too. It was funny. Man, that makes me so happy just to counter people like that, because it's so fun just to screw with them and waste their time. Like, he was just trying. He took like 20 minutes just to come back with like a comeback, which doesn't even make me that sad at all. It just makes me laugh inside, because it takes him longer than the half-life of his Bismuth 210 just to come up with a return joke. LOL. Like, he has one video. Let me see. Have a good day. Yeah, it doesn't really seem that nice of a person. And ready, guys? You ready? You ready to watch a magic trick? And banned. Yep, got him. Banned. Got him banned. Man, I've been waiting for so long to ban a person on my channel. Ooh boy. And not like a person that's innocent, like a person that actually does stuff in my channel that is annoying. Oh yes. Banned. Oh man, I love annoying people that are trying to be annoying to me or rude. Quote, you look like someone with Down syndrome. No, I don't. And plus, if I did, what's the bad thing about that? You know what I mean? This world's bad. Look at guys, this is the worst Minecraft world you're ever gonna see. Want to see bad Minecraft want to see bad Minecraft worlds? Go back to my worlds when they were like 10 years older, man. Those are bad, bro. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be right back. Probably within like 20 minutes, hopefully. I might be on there.